In the previous section, we learned about functions and methods and that Python provides us with built-in functions and built-in methods. Now, a Python function works very simply. You call the function, specify the required arguments, then it will return a result. The types of the arguments, whether it's a string, a list, an integer, a boolean, can be restricted depending on the type of function. But in most cases, it can be multiple values. In today's activity, each of these examples that we have here, we're going to put into our Python IDL. In the last section, we used the inline coder, and this time I wanted to show you how to use the Python IDL to run examples. So we open our Python IDL, and I'm going to set this right here, and as I need to, I'll move it across the screen. But each of these are going to be examples of functions or methods that you can use. Of course, we've used the print function multiple times already, but let's go ahead and look at it again. You put in the function name, print, put your parentheses, type in what you would like it to print to the screen, close your quotations, because I'm typing in a string, and then close the parentheses. Now, the difference between the Python IDL and the inline coder is that the Python IDL does not automatically close your parentheses for you, so you do have to do that yourself. I'm going to hit enter, and it prints onto the screen the string that I put inside the quotations. Now we're going to look at the abs. This is for the absolute value. We're going to put the function abs. You open your parentheses. You put in a number. Does not work with strings. You have to put in an actual number. It can be either a float or an integer. So I'm going to put absolute -4. Hit enter, and it gives me the absolute value, which is 4. Our next one would be round. It does exactly what you think it's going to do. It rounds to the next highest number. So if I put in 5.5, hit enter, and it's going to round up to 6. Now, if I put in round 5.4, it's going to round down to 5. So remember, it does look at what the decimal is and then rounds it up or rounds it down as needed. Then we have min, and min, if our example is right here, it says min 325. So we put in some numbers. Make sure that you put a comma in between the numbers. It does need at least 2 numbers in order to find the minimum number. You hit enter, and it returns what the minimum number is. Max does the exact opposite. If I was to put that in there and use max, the same exact numbers as I used before, it's going to return 5. Sorted, if we want to sort something, first I'm going to create a variable. I'm going to show you using this with a variable. So I put A equals, and I'm going to use a list. So I'm going to put a bracket, 3, 2, 1, close my bracket, hit enter. Now that I have a variable created, now I can sort it. So I'm going to say sorted, and I'm going to put the variable A in there, hit enter, and now it's sorted it for me, 1, 2, 3. Our next function is going to be the sum function. So I'm going to set this right over here. I have to keep moving around so you can see it. So our sum function is going to be, we're going to have an example. So we're going to say A is equal to, we're going to do our bracket, and we're going to say 3, 2, 1, close the bracket, hit enter, and then we're going to type in sum A, and it's going to give us 6. That is the sum of all of those numbers. So I'm going to show you a second example. The second example, I'm going to say B is equal to, bracket 2.6 comma 3.2. I'm just showing you what it would be with floats. 10.2. You can use whatever numbers you want, just as long as you practice putting it in with both integers and floats. Close your bracket, hit enter, sum b, and then I get my sum for those numbers. Our next one, I'm going to move this over here so I can scroll down, is length. We've seen this one before. We used it in our last example or in our last section. So now we have to create a word, and I'm going to say word equals apple. Then I'm going to use my function or my method, because this time, oh no, we're doing length, sorry. So I'm using my function. So I'm saying length word, and I'm going to hit enter, and it tells me that that is 5 characters long. Now I'm going to use my method upper. To do that, remember that I have to use the variable first. So I'm going to say word, and then I'm going to say dot upper, use my parentheses, hit enter, and it capitalizes apple into all caps. So if I was to take that and this time say word dot, and this time I'm going to use a lower and put the parentheses, hit enter, and now I get all lowercase apple. And that can be used in different ways, upper and lower. Some people use them to take someone's password and make it easier to read, or of course, if you're trying to be more strict with your password, you want it to keep the case. Just food for thought. All right, so now strip, what that does is we're going to take this word, p-word, we're going to create a variable called p-word, and we're going to say equals, and we're going to put our quotations, and we're going to put a space in front of it, and we're going to say mug, and we're going to put a space after it, and then hit enter. So now our p-word has a space in front and back. So what strip does is we say p-word dot strip, and what that does is it strips out the space on either side of that word, and now we have it where there's no space. And you would use that for passwords, because people sometimes when they type in their password will hit the space bar and they will put a space at the end of their password, but the space is not part of the password, so you have to strip it down so that that space is removed. So that is what strip is for. All right, so now what I need you to do is look at the differences. Remember that in a function, you call the function and then you pass it something, like some type of argument. Whereas with a method, you have the object, word, p-word, whatever your variable is that you are wanting to change, and you put dot method with the parentheses, and there is nothing in the parentheses. So up here, you're passing something to the function so that the function can perform an action on it. And here, you're saying, I have something and I want to perform an action on it. So those are kind of the differences. If you have any questions about that, please email me, do your check for understanding, and head over to the next section.